Alright, everybody. You guys are gonna laugh at this. I know most of you guys don't even know about this yet. One person in chat so far has brought it up. But this is today's news. And when I say today's, I mean this came out a couple hours ago. From ABC News. Bombshell immunity filing... Oh, god dang it. Sorry, throat is dry. Bombshell immunity filing details Trump's alleged increasingly desperate bid to overturn the 2020 election. Special counsel Jack Smith has outlined new details of former President Donald Trump and his allies' sweeping and increasingly desperate attempts to overturn his 2020 election loss. In a blockbuster court filing Wednesday aimed at defending Smith's prosecution of Trump following the Supreme Court's July immunity ruling, Trump intentionally lied to the public, state election officials, and his own vice president in an effort to cling to power after losing the election, while privately describing some of the claims of election fraud that he made, by the way, as crazy. Prosecutors alleged in the 165-page filing. Quote, when the defendant lost the 2020 presidential election, he resorted to crimes to try to stay in office, unquote, the filing said. With private co-conspirators, the defendant launched a series of increasingly desperate plans to overturn the legitimate election results in 7 states that he had lost. When Trump's efforts to overturn the election through lawsuits and fraudulent electors failed to change the outcome of the election, prosecutors alleged that the former president fomented violence, with prosecutors describing Trump as directly responsible for the tinderbox that he purposefully ignited on January 6th. You know, maybe it's good that the legal system is so slow, because a lot of these things, all this legal trouble that Trump has gone through for crimes that he committed a long time ago, mind you, it's not even the legal process going slow, like in a lot of these cases. Trump has tried to delay a lot of these court cases and these, filings and stuff and these court appearances as much as possible. He submits appeals. He submits as many delays and requests for reschedules as possible. He is desperate to just put off all of his legal trouble, and for some reason they let him do it. But now it seems to all be catching up with him, where in this last year, he's having to do constant back-to-back-to-back legal trials. It feels like he's pushed it back as much as possible, and he thought he could get it pushed back another year, and now it's all coming in and collapsing down on him in the last year of the election. The year of the election. As Trump said, when you're rich, they let you do it. Quote, the defendant also knew that he had only one last hope to prevent Biden's certification as president, the large and angry crowd standing in front of him. So for more than an hour, the defendant delivered a speech designed to inflame his supporters and motivate them to march to the Capitol. The lengthy filing, which includes an 80-page summary of the evidence gathered by investigators, outlines multiple instances in which Trump allegedly heard from advisors who disapproved of his allegations, yet continued to spread his claims of outcome-determinative voter fraud, prosecutors said. It doesn't matter if you won or lost the election. You still have to fight like hell. Oh, sorry, let me do it in his voice.
It doesn't matter if you won or lost the election. You still have to fight like hell.
Trump allegedly told members of his family following the 2020 election, the filing said. I believe that 100%, by the way. Who remembers that famous situation where Tucker Carlson's texts, his private text messages, had leaked, and you could see numerous stories that he covered and towed the conservative line on for Trump? He would talk in private about how they were insane conspiracy theories and unfounded, and he didn't know how he was going to find a way to spin the insanity that the Fox News executives have sent his way. It's amazing. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Tucker texts leaked court. That should bring it up. Oh, here's a good example. Spreading election lies. Sidney Powell is lying, Carlson told a Fox News producer in a November 16, 2020 exchange before using expletives to describe Powell, an attorney representing Trump. Quote, you keep telling our viewers that millions of votes were changed by the software. I hope you will prove that very soon, Carlson wrote to Powell a day later. You've convinced them that Trump will win. If you don't have conclusive evidence of fraud at that scale, it's a cruel and reckless thing to keep saying. There was no indication that Powell replied. Fox attorneys noted that Carlson repeatedly questioned Powell's claims in his broadcasts. When we kept pressing, she got angry and told us to stop contacting her, Carlson told viewers on November 19, 2020. Carlson told his audience that he had taken Powell seriously, but that she had never provided any evidence or demonstrated that the software Dominion used siphoned votes from Trump to Biden. Carlson continued to trash Powell and Trump's legal team in a November 23, 2020 text exchange with a fellow Fox host, Laura Ingraham, and also bemoaned what he considered the president's passivity in the face of the 2 Georgia runoffs. After saying it was pretty disgusting that more attorneys hadn't pushed back on the claims of Trump's attorneys who were trying to overturn the election results, Carlson wrote, and now Trump, I learned this morning, is sitting back and letting them lose the Senate. He doesn't care. I care. I've got 4 kids and plan to live here. In an exchange with an unknown person on January 4th, 2021, Carlson expressed anger towards Trump. He said that we are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights, and that I truly can't wait. Carlson said he had no doubt that there was fraud in the 2020 election, but said Trump and his lawyers had so discredited their case and media figures like himself that it's infuriating and absolutely enrages him. Addressing Trump's 4 years as president, Carlson said, we're all pretending we've got a lot to show for it because admitting what a disaster it's been is too tough to digest. But come on, there really isn't an upside to Trump. In text early on the morning of January 7, 2021, a day after the violent assault of the U.S. Capitol, Carlson and his longtime producer, Alex Pfeiffer, bemoaned how the rioters had believed Trump's election lies. Quote, they take the president literally, Pfeiffer said. He is to blame for everything that happened today. Quote, the problem is a little deeper than that, I'd say, Carlson replied. Quote, obviously the problems are deep, but at the core of it, Trump is saying it was stolen, Pfeiffer wrote. Not the core, Carlson wrote. Awful, but a symptom. Later, Carlson writes of Trump, he's a demonic force, a destroyer, but he's not going to destroy us. I've been thinking about this every day for 4 years. So, basically just a shit ton of leaked texts where it's Tucker Carlson basically just casually being a grifter. Like, it's just there, like, you can see his, like, entire process of being like, are we gonna promote this on the show? Like, I gotta push this? Like, okay, if that's what the executives are saying, you know what I mean? In a statement, Trump campaign spokesperson Stephen Chung said that the release of the filing was an attempt to interfere with the upcoming election following Tuesday's vice presidential debate. Interesting how every single legal trial or trouble or tribulation that Trump ends up in is somehow, some way, just meant to hurt him in the election. But his going after Biden, or I should say Hunter Biden, isn't, I guess? Also, the DOJ literally indicted Hunter Biden, and that's not them doing political lawfare on the Bidens, but it is when they go after Trump himself for crimes that he's committed. Like, somehow the DOJ is, like, corrupt and in Biden's pocket, but they also indicted his son. They believe this. It's... we are dealing with people who have a completely optional reality, different from our own. They've elected to not live in the same world as us. In her order allowing the redacted filing to become public, U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, who has been overseeing the case, addressed the defense's accusations of partisan bias. Quote, defendant's opposition brief repeatedly accuses the government of bad faith partisan bias, the judge wrote. These accusations, for which defendant provides no support, continue a pattern of defense filing focus on political rhetoric rather than an addressing of the legal issues at hand. Quote, not only is that focus unresponsive and unhelpful to the court, but it is also unbefitting of the experienced defense counsel and undermining of the judicial proceedings in this case, Judge Chutkan wrote. Future filings should be directed to the issues before the court. According to prosecutors, Trump, quote, laid the groundwork for his crimes well before 2020's election day, including by sowing doubt among his supporters and planning to declare victory immediately, despite multiple advisors telling him that the results were unlikely to be finalized on election day. Prosecutors allege that Trump and his allies sought to create chaos at polling places, including one instance when a campaign employee encouraged a colleague to, quote, make them riot at an ongoing vote count in Detroit, which the former president later used to support his claims of voter fraud. Quote,
The through line of these efforts...
Oh, sorry, this is the filing, not Trump. The through line of these efforts was deceit. The defendant and the co-conspirators knowingly false claims of election fraud, the filing said. In addition to outlining the instances when Trump was directly corrected about his allegations of voter fraud, the filing said Trump privately called allegations of voter fraud made by his lawyer Sidney Powell crazy, despite employing similar arguments to cast doubt on the legitimacy of the election, prosecutors allege. Trump last year pleaded not guilty to federal charges of undertaking a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 election in order to remain in power. Wednesday's filing comes at a pivotal moment in the case as Judge Chutkan is set to begin considering whether any of the allegations included in the government's case are protected by presidential immunity after the Supreme Court ruled in a blockbuster decision that Trump is entitled to immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts undertaken while in office. That's right, he's immune now from any crimes he commits while in office. He's got an unironic, literal, cartoon logic get-out-of-jail-free card if and when he's president. In August, Smiths filed a pared-down indictment that removed allegations likely to have been considered official acts, including Trump's interactions with Justice Department officials to interfere with the election, while still charging the former president with the same four criminal counts he originally faced. Last week, Smith filed a sealed brief seeking to justify the superseding indictment, then sought to file a redacted version for public release. Trump's lawyers opposed Wednesday's lengthy filing, which they described as tantamount to a premature and improper special counsel report, and argued that public release of the allegations would improperly influence the election and violate Department of Justice policies. Judge Chutkan, who has long stated that the election does not play a factor in her decision-making, ordered the filing to be publicly released Wednesday. In justifying his case against Trump, Smith alleged that Trump acted as an office seeker rather than an office holder when he committed crimes, and that he must stand trial for his private crimes as would any other citizen. Quote, although the defendant was the incumbent president during the charged conspiracies, his scheme was fundamentally a private one, Wednesday's filing said. So, it looks like the prosecutors, and mind you, a judge that is not sympathetic to Trump by any means. They've got, going back about a year now, you've got Trump disrespecting this judge, I think literally threatened or encouraged threats that did happen on the judge's family. He's done this multiple times to multiple judges, but this particular judge has gotten it arguably the worst. So this judge is not biased in favor of Trump, to be very clear, and the prosecutors are heavily pushing to not only, charge Trump, indict him, but to also prevent the immunity ruling from the Supreme Court from saving his ass. Hopefully they are successful. I'm so happy that Republicans cannot claim that Trump really did believe that the election had been stolen. I mean, they will continue to claim that. They'll claim to believe they think the election was stolen. They'll lie to your face even when you know they're lying, and then they'll call you a liar and smirk at you. That's what they do. That's what they do, man. There was a part in that brief where it talks about an aide telling Trump that Pence was in danger on Jan 6th, and Trump just says, so what? Yeah. Dude, I'm so... Could you imagine if Michael Pence... I guess his name is Michael Pence. Could you imagine if Mike Pence, bent the knee again and ran as vice president in 2024? Obviously, Trump wouldn't let him because he didn't help to... overturn the election, but imagine if Trump did. Imagine if Trump was like, okay, come back, Vance sucks too much, please. We need someone who's not awful, someone who doesn't make me look bad, if that's even possible. Michael Pence just sounds so wrong. Yeah, that's how his mom calls him when he's in trouble. Michael Pence! Yeah, this is pretty funny. I don't know if anything huge is going to come out of this besides maybe a fractional move in the direction. Correct me if I'm wrong. Haven't the trials Trump has been going through actually correlated with a rise in Trump's polling numbers. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I swear I saw something about that. That, like, every time one of these big court things gets into the news, Trump's polling does better, not worse. Am I wrong there? I wonder if this could have the opposite effect than what you would hope. Because people are dumb. And the median voter buys the narrative that, oh, a presidential candidate is in legal trouble? This must be the other side politically engaging in lawfare. That makes sense. Why wouldn't they? They're the other political side. Yeah. I don't know about trials, but he got a boost in fundraising during, oh yeah, he'll get a lot of donations. You better believe that every one of these big court stories is going to have a big correlation with a massive jump in donations to Trump's campaign, for sure. Found it? Why Trump's poll lead went up after criminal indictments. Oh, okay, I was right. Trump's mounting legal troubles have not dented his status as the clear frontrunner for the Republican presidential nomination in 2024. In fact, the criminal charges have strengthened his position. Why? This is from the midterms. The former U.S. president has been indicted 3 times in the past 4 months. Once in New York for alleged financial crimes, once in a federal court on charges that he mishandled sensitive government documents and obstructed investigation, and on Tuesday, he was indicted in a federal court on charges he conspired to overturn the results of the 2020 election. He is also facing a 4th possible indictment in Georgia for pressuring state officials to reverse his 2020 defeat there. Through all of this, Mr. Trump's campaign has not just continued unabated, it has thrived. An average of opinion polls from the 31st of July suggests he has a commanding lead of 37 points over his nearest rival, Ron DeSantis. DeSantis. No one else in the crowded field of 14 candidates scores over 6%, and more than half of them are not even at 1. Back in mid-February, Mr. Trump's lead over Mr. DeSantis in the average of polls was just 2 points. That turned out to be the Florida governor's high point so far, however. While his star has faded and his poll numbers have plummeted, Mr. Trump's support has remained rock solid. And since the first indictment was brought in the first week of April, making Mr. Trump the first former U.S. president to face criminal charges, it has actually grown. According to the average of polls, Trump has been the first choice of a majority of Republican voters ever since the first arrest and court appearance. Most Republican voters see charges as politically motivated. According to Clifford Young, president of the U.S. Public Affairs with Ipsos, the bond between Donald Trump and his supporters, which equates to about 40 to 45% of the Republican electorate, will be difficult to break. They see the world through his eyes, he says. His base believes he's been wronged. They believe that the indictments are politically motivated. After Mr. Trump's indictment for illegally retaining classified documents, the BBC spoke with a panel of Republican voters and their views on the former president, and found similar sentiments. Quote, "This is so obviously a blatant attempt to take Mr. Trump out of the presidential running," 61-year-old Trump-supporting Ram Solene of Arizona said. And it is a sad day for our nation, considering that others, including Mr. Biden, have been caught with classified documents in their possession. Even Republicans like Luke Gordon, who doesn't support Mr. Trump's attempt to recapture the White House, viewed the indictment as with some skepticism. Quote, "I don't doubt the legitimacy of the claims in the indictment, and I do not defend Trump's actions," the 21-year-old New Yorker said. However, the motivation behind his prosecution and investigation remains of grave concern. So even among, not super Trump loyal, 21-year-old New Yorker, Republican-leaning people, they think that this must be, the fact that Trump is in trouble must mean they're attacking him and he is being wronged. In no world could he genuinely be being gone after. Even if he's done stuff wrong, even if he is truly in the wrong and they agree with that, the fact that they are going after him legally, in their perception, is political lawfare, because they live in this world where politicians are breaking the law all the fucking time and getting away with it all the fucking time, right? Everybody is a hyper-populist these days, or at least repeats hyper-populist positions. And so you hear this, nonsense narrative where it's oh yeah, all the politicians, left and right, are constantly getting away with crimes because of their power and money and their position in government. So they're only going after Trump, and Trump is only getting in trouble because he's Trump. You know, they're just targeting him. He's no different than the other politicians. The fact they're going after him is specific, you know? A lot of people think that way. Like, a lot of people think that, like, every politician is as crooked as Trump, at least, and that they are just targeting Trump legally, even though he is as guilty and as bad as any other politician. That is how a lot of people view the situation. Though many of them view Trump as less bad than most other politicians. They see him as an outsider who, like he used to say, drained the swamp. So yeah, based on what I've seen, it is very possible that this ends up helping Trump and his chances. In a June poll by CBS News, the BBC's partner in the US illustrates the point. 76% of likely Republican primary voters said the classified documents indictment was politically motivated. 38% of those voters thought it would be a national security risk if the former president kept nuclear or military documents after he left office. For the U.S. public at large, the number is 80%. 61% of Republican voters said Mr. Trump's indictments did not change how they viewed the former president, while 14% said it made them see him more positively. So 61% said it changes nothing, and 14% said they see him more positively now. So when I tell you that, I mean, these are not median voters, but hell, there's still, like, this is the floor that we're talking about here, okay? These are zealots, yeah. These are zealots who believe that Trump is a special person who can do no wrong, and when he gets any consequences for his actions, it must be some kind of, like, targeted attack on him. As if an attack on him, if it even existed, would also be an attack on them. Because Trump's done a really good job of convincing his supporters that he represents them, and he is the man of the people, and that when they attack him, when they hurt him, they are hurting them. Why the fuck do we live in a country full of such idiots? Jesus fucking Christ, man. Individualism, unironically. Like, fundamentally, America was founded on a concept of individualism, like, above all, and it's an extremely toxic concept when taken to its extreme. And while there are definitely some positive aspects to the concept of individualism, it has been basically perverted by conservatives going back, like, a century at this point, and used to promote, like, evil ideologies, and from there, in order to enforce those ideologies, they've attacked forms of education, encouraged ignorance, and just generally tried to enforce that worldview and block out anything else as much as possible. I shit you not, I was debating a conservative and she used Biden is in league with the devil as an actual fucking argument. Hey, Bolt Sidorov, do you know what you do when someone says that to you? You say, Satan, my lord, I allow you to use my body as your vessel to achieve your evil ends. Enter me now, and let everyone around me be your first victim on this mortal plane. And see if they run. If they run away, if they're like actually scared, you know they believe in that shit. And if they really do believe in that shit, then you actually scare the shit out of them, which is like peak, you know? Empower me! Allow me to carry out your evil deeds on this earth. Jesus. Okay, anyway. If you enjoyed this segment, and you like getting caught up on the news with me, you found it fun or entertaining, then please, please, please consider leaving a like. Every thumbs up goes a long way to help the channel in the algorithm. If you don't know, someone actually told me the other day, they watched one of my older videos, like 2 or 3 years old at this point, that hasn't had any like new comments or interactions on it in a long time, and they left a like on it and watched the video, and they came back a few hours later and found that it had a good amount more views than before and had 3 new comments for the first time in months. Just one person clicking on a video that's years old and liking it put that video in a dozen or more people's recommended and led to 3 comments on that video, which of course led to it getting more attention, no doubt. Because that kind of thing snowballs. So seriously, it really means a lot. Thank you to every single one of you who dropped the thumbs up. Thank you to everybody who leaves a comment, subscribes, rings the bell icon to see more from me on YouTube. It really does mean a lot. And of course, consider following my social medias, linked down below in the description, if you want to see more from me on other platforms, including clicking on the link to join my fan Discord, which is the main hub of my community. It's totally free to join, and I will also be hosting maybe the final, depending on, like, if there's still demand for these going forward. I host game events, call-in streams, and watch parties in there, though we may be stopping that if there's not demand for it. But for now, we probably are continuing them. People seem like they're pretty hyped for them and don't want them to end, so we'll probably continue them. So join the Discord if you haven't already. I also announce all my new uploads and streams there too, so you don't miss anything if YouTube's bugging out. And of course, if you want to support me directly and help me keep a roof above my head and just keep the lights on over here at Xanderhall Live Studios, then consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buying merch to the Streamlabs link down below. But regardless of how you support the channel, even if you're just lurking around and not saying anything, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.